the update that after the big debate news yesterday, where you would see a head-to-head Trump v. Biden, one-on-one, there could not be another third party. Now, all of a sudden, due to some major changes, and Will and I actually have a very interesting story to share about that, RFK Jr., Robert F. Kennedy Jr., is claiming at least he has not only a path to qualify, but has or will qualify by that day.
That's right. So as we told you yesterday, the Biden campaign, when they sent that letter to the Commission on Presidential Debates, they made it very clear that they said it should only be candidates that statistically have a viable path to the presidency. So a lot of what they were leaning on is, one, the poll numbers, but also that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. didn't have ballot access in enough states to really qualify to reach a number of 270 electoral college votes to win. So after that announcement, it was kind of like, okay, well, they're keeping him out of the debate. We get that. And they use very clever terms about statistically viable, things of that. Well, the Kennedy campaign then came back and said, look, we think that we could qualify for the CNN debate because CNN has a 15% threshold in 4 national polls. I think they could get there. Polls are also easily manipulated for those purposes, so they could probably get there. Yeah. But also, they announced last night that his running mate, Nicole Shanahan, was putting $8 million more into the campaign to fund additional ballot access, which they will get over that 270 threshold hump of potential electoral college votes, which would then in that case theoretically make them a statistically viable candidate. And they would then be putting the ball in CNN's court and say, hey, keep us out. We're following your rules. We're here. Put us on stage, even though CNN and Team Biden say, no, we don't want that.
Now, Will and I last night had the opportunity as members of the press to attend an RFK night of comedy at the historic Ryman Auditorium. This featured some of the biggest names in comedy. I mean, look, you may like them or not like them. It's just the truth. Headliners were Russell Brand. Okay, that's who headlined the night. You had Jim Brewer, whose friend who's on Jingle Smells. You may remember him back from then from SNL. You had Rob Schneider. You had Steve Byrne. Incredible night of comedians. You also had some great music acts. Now, here's the part where I was going to tell you that it was one of the strangest experiences I've had in a political event. It was a night of comedy, but it's still, at the end of the day, was a political event to try to sway, you would assume, sway voters, to sway people to vote for Kennedy. Now, were Russell Brand, obviously our friend Jim Brewer was great. Steve Byrne was great. Rob Schneider was good. Were they funny? Sure, they were funny. And some people like Jim are fairly clean. I've been to a lot of comedy shows in my life. This was the dirtiest comedy show I've ever been to, and it was a political fundraising event.
Later in the night, when you had Russell Brand doing his very eloquent, if you watch him on Rumble, you know that he's very good with words, he's witty, he's clever.
Oh, yeah.
But he made a joke that was fairly off color, pretty dirty, and then he heard someone's baby in the audience, and he said, no one told me there would be babies here. I wouldn't have just said what I said. Yeah. And meanwhile, it felt like a PR nightmare for a campaign manager of having this event that all of the optics, press were invited. Yeah. And it was the least polished show you'd want your presidential name attached to.
Yes. And here's the crazy part. Okay, this is when it went a little off the rails, and I can actually sympathize a little with RFK. He goes up, so he's very late. They tell us very early, before the show starts, they say, hey, he has had a family medical emergency. His nephew, who has a lot of special needs, a lot of issues, had a medical emergency in Florida. He is down there. He is going to make it, but it's going to be a late night. So, we got there at 6. Kenny doesn't hit the stage till well after 10, close to 11, maybe even after 11.
The stage at 11.
At 11 o'clock at night. He goes up, he makes his speech, and you'd think you'd get like a political speech. And what we got was a few minutes telling you why he was late, which was understood. Everyone said a prayer, by the way, for this kid at the beginning. It was pretty emotionally moving moment at the beginning. It was pretty cool. And then he thanked the comedians. And then did he go to policy? Did he start talking about why you should be voting for him? No. He decided to tell a dirty joke that he said his wife would not allow him to say, but she wasn't here, so he was going to say it. And it ended with pretty explicit language. And then said, thank you, good night. It was so strange. But here's the one part where I sympathize with him. A good portion of the video content they showed, and even Russell Brand read off, kind of quotes and headlines from different major news sources, the legacy media, as they say, about how crazy he is and about how horrible of a campaign it is and all of these things and all the lies that they've spread about his campaign. And I'm like, that's pretty normal. That's what you do. So I get home last night. I'm like, well, it's 12:30 at night. My kids and my family are asleep, but I'm still wired from this bizarre evening. I was like, I want to see what's on social media. And I go to X and I just start searching for people that were talking about it. I wanted to see their reaction. And I came across a X post from a writer and a writer from the Nashville scene, which here is like
it's an alt-weekly newspaper. Yeah. It does pop culture, local events.
You get it in for free.
They normally have a political section.
And they're usually very liberal. Okay, I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that. I pull up some of these posts and I can tell that RFK is right. They do lie about him. And they lie about him with all mouths, no even caveat. I'll read you some of the things he said. Again, they're not even that egregious. You could have gone after a lot of the content that was said at this event. But instead, what they put on there was, presidential candidate RFK Jr. is a no-show 2 hours into his rally in Nashville. And then put that the press was notified he was going to no-show and that the crowd was notified he was no-show. Did that happen? No. What happened was, before the event went on, they went on and said his special needs nephew had a medical emergency. He is going to make it, but it's going to be very late. Let's all pray for him. But the media spun it as he doesn't care about you. He's a no-show. He's crazy. Why lie about that? Who knows? Just to try to create chaos that isn't there. And then who takes the stage an hour later? I don't know, the person they said who never made the trip, Russell Brand. Russell Brand shows up live and in person. And look, we were all wondering, is Russell Brand going to come in from...
I expected it to be a video.
Come in
honestly.
from London for this or from England? And he did. And he showed up and he did this event. Later on, did they fix that? No. The only thing they did was this morning tweeted out, RFK showed up around 11. The intermission was not as long as the 30 minutes. My mistake.
It's not surprising, unfortunately, because that's how low the journalistic bar in this country has come. I have a master's in journalism. I love the art of journalism. I love the craft of journalism. I love truth. And unfortunately, in this country, we don't have that. We don't have a media that we can trust. You can't trust journalists to not just shove a narrative in your face. And that narrative they chose was that this is chaos and lies.
Right. They
didn't choose any of the litany of things that I could say, here's why maybe you shouldn't be supporting this candidacy. Bad PR, crazy optics.
Never talked policy.
Yeah, never. It's like, I don't think maybe this is a setup campaign. But instead, they went with lies instead of just reporting what they saw.
Right.
And that's where it does strike a chord with people that support someone like RFK Jr., and many conservatives that have been dealing with this for decades, lies from the media about what they believe and who they are. And so they help him in a way, because instead of reporting on a chaotic event, they lie about it. And then people like us can tell you they're lying to you.
Yeah, and we have to expose that. We have to be part of that breaking of that legacy media. And the ACLJ is part of that. Sure, we have our legal cases in court. Sure, we're out there supporting what's going on in Israel and all that goes with that, from the smallest to the biggest lawsuits. But also, we have to take on and take down legacy media in ways that no one else will.